Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are two of the members of Group X, who will be our headliners for Week 3 of Jazz Under the Stars on August 15th. Yeah, hard to believe. Week 3 already. Jen Tiede is here. Jen, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
And Joel Nagel, welcome.
Hello.
Nice to have you both here. So before we start talking about Group X, which was a student project for all of you at UNI way back in the early aughts, right? Yes. We'll just go with that. But tell me a little bit about how you got to UNI in the first place. Now, Jen, I know that you were you're an alum of Linn-Mar, where you teach now. So you grew up in Marion, Cedar Rapids area, and obviously band agreed with you.
Yeah, love it.
And you went to UNI and majored in music education, yeah?
Music and jazz studies.
Okay, all right. And Joel, how about you?
I was a Sioux City native, and then going to UNI kind of turned me into an Eastern Iowan. So
Same for me. Grew up in Western Iowa, moved here, never left. Yeah, I totally get that. So you both were in all the ensembles, and and probably culminating in Jazz Band 1, the top jazz band. And okay, let's name drop a little bit. Who are some of your contemporaries when you were there? Because these are going to be names I think that a lot of us around Eastern Iowa will know from the music scene.
Sure. Well, I guess obviously the members that are playing with us, Dave, Tiede, and Mike Conrad, who are going to be playing with us at Jazz Under the Stars. But Anthony Williams, who's the trombone professor at UNI now, he was a graduate student when we were there. Brandon Lewis, Caleb Shreves, Noel Alvarado.
Jason Shadrack.
Who's still here in town. Yep. Yeah.
Several others have moved away, so might not be as
right
memorable, well known around here.
Yeah. And at the time that you put this group together, Jen, you were freshly out of school, correct?
Yeah, I just graduated and started my first teaching.
And that was in Fort Madison?
In Fort Madison.
Yeah. And Joel, you were still in school.
I was, yeah.
And Mike Conrad was he was a freshman.
Yeah.
and you let him into the group. Explain that to me.
Well, we could see the talent that he had. I know that after talking with Mike, he looked up to us because he was a freshman and was looking forward to playing with musicians that were serious. Maybe an experience that he wasn't quite getting as a high school student, he was now getting as a college student. But after we heard his writing and his playing, we're like, of course we want to play with Mike Conrad.
Yeah. And then was he because he does trombone and piano? Was he mainly piano for this, or did he play
piano
trombone?
primarily for this one? So he was
on the album. It was a Rhodes.
Oh, okay, very nice. Yeah, so Mike's a freshman, and he's hanging out with the cool older kids now, and just to put this in perspective now for most of our listening audience, and I say Mike Conrad, they know immediately who I'm talking about. But of course, Mike is now the award-winning composer who recently won a big national award from the Airmen of Note, and runs the Iowa Jazz Composers Orchestra, which both of you are in, and of course is now a teacher at UNI. Yeah, strange how that keeps coming around. So you're all at UNI. Was Dave graduated too, or was he still in school?
At the time of recording the album, he had graduated.
Okay, so you two are out. Some of you are still in school. And do you remember what caused you to want to put this group together?
Not exactly.
I have a feel. Well, kind of thinking back through, at the time we were there, Chris Mertz had been really instrumental in getting us to embrace small group composition, and he had featured some of us writing pieces for the big band. But I feel like there was a culture there, which I think still exists now, that students kind of felt empowered to create groups and write music and do projects like this. So I think it was just our natural evolution through that, and we reached out to somebody who was, I think, starting a studio and wanted some experience recording, and
we had all original compositions. So I think it was just a way to document that and maybe celebrate our writing.
Well, and this is, as a matter of fact, I was having this exact same conversation with the fellows from BYO Brass, who performed with us a couple of weeks ago. Same story, only add a decade, because they came together in 2017, all at the University of Northern Iowa, and it's that culture. I call it the culture of composition. Because not every jazz program focuses on composing music for various sized ensembles, big bands, small groups, everything in between. But beginning with Bob Washut and continuing with Chris and you all, and now there's kind of a third generation with students who are graduated, and they're just now, and it's become this rich and fertile landscape again. Mike Conrad and his fertile landscape suite.
Yes.
I guess he's more right than he knew.
Yeah.
How much? So you recorded the album. Did you play out much when the group was kind of a going concern, or was this more of a documenting our compositions
I
project?
think it was documenting. I know we played at the Iowa City Jazz Festival perhaps that summer before we recorded. And then after we did the album, I think that was it. I think we were done. Life moved on.
Yeah. But fast forward to 2023, and I say to Jen one day at Corridor Jazz Project, you really should bring a group to Jazz Under the Stars, because you both played a lot, but not as leaders. And was this the first thing that popped into your head, or did you have a couple of,
Yeah, I had to think about it a little bit, and I kind of just had to think about who would I really want to play with, and I start listing off some names in my head, and I'm like, wait a second, I know all these guys, and we played together before. Let's like reunite and try this group that we had in college and bring it back together.
So you've had a couple of rehearsals, and I think that we should add that your fifth member, Jake, will not be with us.
Yeah, our bass player no longer lives in Iowa, and he lives in Hawaii. So.
Oh, gee, and he wasn't willing to come for Jazz Under the Stars level payments.
I know.
So, but after a huge long search, you were able to find a bass player.
It took forever to find a bass player. Man, there's just no bass players down here.
Right.
No, it was a very easy decision, and Blake was willing to play with us.
Yeah. So Blake Shaw will join you two and your husband Dave, who is first call drummer around the area. Again, a member of the Iowa Jazz Composers Orchestra, and Dr. Conrad, also, of course. All right, so y'all sit down to rehearse these songs, looking at them for the first time. And first of all, was it hard to find the music?
I'll let you tell that story.
Yeah, there's no more written documentation of this music. Luckily, since we recorded the album, Mike was willing to transcribe a few of the charts so that we could play them for this concert. So yeah, nobody had the sheet music left over from almost 20 years later. So it was a really cool moment when we rehearsed and we played one of our old charts for the first time again, and just a lot of memories flood back, and it was.
So did it? So it became familiar. You remembered it. It was like, oh yeah,
We
this.
actually kind of studied the album a little bit on our own. We kind of listened back to the album and refreshed our memory. But
Okay, well, 20 years gone, a few miles since then. How did these songs stand up?
I think
Joel?
they stand up pretty well. We were laughing about it in rehearsal. There are a couple moments that definitely sound like 20-year-olds trying to do something interesting, or what now 40-year-old me would call unnecessarily difficult.
there's some
But-
challenging moments.
Yeah, but it was kind of fun to just revisit all of that. And I would say for a snapshot of 20 years ago, there could be far more embarrassing things out there as far as what we might have tried to do. So I think it stands up really well. And
I think it aged well.
yeah,
Well, I've had the same experience. Now a few years have gone by for me when I wrote my novels, and and I go back and say, oh, that was kind of a beginner. That was kind of a beginner mistake. Oh, well, that's not too bad. Jeez, there are flashes of this guy knew what he was doing. So, and that's a fun feeling, because it's really the closest you ever get to being able to kind of judge your own work from the outside.
Sure.
You have to let a lot of time pass before you can really evaluate it. Well.
It's a testament to just our education that we received too from you and I, and just the amazing teachers that we got to work with, Dr. Washit, Chris Mertz, and all of our private instructors. Yeah.
So you've got a CD's worth of stuff that you're bringing back out of the closet. Anything else that we can look forward to at Jazz Under the Stars? What else is on the program?
Well, Brandon Blake, he's bringing in a couple of his arrangements. Those are probably the only jazz standards that we're actually going to play, or Blake's arrangements. We've got 4 tunes from the Group X album, Collective the Cairn. Joel, you have a couple of tunes that you arranged or wrote?
Yeah, I wrote 2 tunes for this performance that'll be new. So just a blues that we wrote for the group, and then a kind of Eastern themed tune called Junia that's based on an Ellington recording from the Far East Suite, kind of based off Mount Harissa. So that one actually will feature Jen on the concert. So looking forward to that.
And then we've got some tunes from the Hunter Tones.
Oh, okay.
Excited to play. I love the Hunter Tones. You know, we're not the exact instrumentation of that group, but I think we're still able to come across well.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, they're my favorites too. So that's always a happy thing when we can.
Very happy music, I think, overall, and a great variety. What do you say?
Oh yeah, for a Thursday night in Noelridge Park, it's definitely. If there's not something you don't like, wait a tune, because it's all very different, and I think it'll hit a spectrum of what people like to listen to around here.
Well, going back to your original tunes for just a second, were there things that you changed or updated, or after did you go back to those unnecessarily difficult spots and going, we don't need to we can make this a little easier?
We did not bow out from anything that was too tough. So we're sacrificing for everybody and putting in all the hard work there. But I think there were a couple things that we were like, well, do we repeat this? Do we do that? And we were kind of going back and forth. And there were just a couple times we were like, well, we wrote it. We don't have to do what was on there. Like, let's do, what would we do now? Like, let's just do that. So little tweaks. But
I know Mike did make a comment about really wanting to change some things, given his experience and knowledge in writing. But we stayed true to the original concept.
Well, I've been looking forward to this for quite some time because once I remembered, and of course this was during my tenure at KCCK, but I had kind of forgotten about this group. I actually I conflated it with Chris Mertz's Xtet for a little while because of the X. So when you first said Group X, I thought, well, wasn't that thing that Mertz did? Well, then I had to refamiliarize myself with it.
Probably pretty influential for us.
I would say,
Yeah, because you were both involved in that.
I had subbed once, but just hearing him play that that group, hearing them live a bunch of times, that was certainly influential.
And looking at all the things that you both have done since then. I mean, all of you have done. I mean, here after, you probably graduated from UNI thinking, yeah, well, probably not going to see these guys too much anymore. Okay. Jen, maybe you probably figured you were going to see Dave.
See Dave.
Yeah. See Dave pretty often. But then now, these years later to have, the two of you leading 2 of the leading jazz programs in our region, and I would argue the state, and Mike at UNI, coaching that next generation, and of course bringing Blake in, who's become such a huge part of our musical community. I mean, just what a testament, like you said, what a testament to that grounding and education that you both got in high school and college, and now you're paying it forward every day. So thank you both for that.
And I would say also a testament to just Eastern Iowa's support of the arts. That there are people here, like Jen said, it took all of just a few minutes to find a bass player that was going to be great. And I always feel very lucky to live in this community where, putting together a jazz concert is it's a normal thing. Like people like going out to do it. They like supporting this. It supports a community of people that play this music, and we can all kind of make a living teaching it and playing it, and it's a good place to be.
Yep. And speaking of the next generation, we will have as our opening act the Murphy Fisher Quartet, which are 4 recent graduates from City High in Iowa City, some of whom I think are headed to UNI. So, so I got to tell them 20 years gone, keep an eye on this music because you're going to need it. Yeah. Save your sheet music because 20 years you're going to need it for Jazz Into the Stars. So it's our third week of Jazz Into the Stars featuring the class reunion of Group X and also the Murphy Fisher Quartet. Things start at 6:30 as usual in Noelridge Park. We'll have all the usual fun stuff, the food trucks, merch and picnics and fun stuff as well, just like we do every year at Jazz Into the Stars. And really looking forward to this night of music. And thanks for bringing it all back for us.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for being here. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:30 or download the podcast. Watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture or using your favorite podcast app. You can watch our videos on the KCCK YouTube and Facebook channels too. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. I'm Dennis Green. I'll talk to you later.